It's October 2014.
Anything to say, Dr. Dixon?
This case was just so shocking, like something out of a Coen Brothers movie.
This is likely one of the bigger murder trials that this city has seen in a long, long time.
You have a prominent doctor, Dr. Joseph Sonnier, found murdered in his home. You have allegations that another prominent doctor, Mike Dixon, put out a hit on him, all over a woman in the middle of all this, Rochelle Shatina.
I knew what we had signed up for, and I did not take any of it lightly. I went in there every day, really examining the evidence.
I felt like it was my job to go in there and look at everything and determine whether it could have been this way or it could have been that way. When there was a question about anything, you couldn't take that as a for sure thing. I never felt like he was pushing him to kill. I felt like he was pushing him to take photographs.
I think I kind of agree. I think Dr. Dixon really just wanted to embarrass Rochelle and prove, hey, he's not quite the man you think he is. He just wanted to say, hey, the word on the streets is maybe Dr. Sonnier is dating other women, with other women. He's trying to kind of catch those things in the act. Dr. Dixon wanted to be correct, and that, I think, is entirely his fault. He probably should have just let that go.
When he got on the stand and changed his entire story, it just kind of threw me for a loop at first.
The prosecutor's face got red and veins were popping out of his neck.
Matt Powell was livid, but he was able to recover because he already had a videotape of Shepard confessing to the crime. He showed that to the jury, and that was enough to convince some of the jurors.
Shepard's just pretty much giving us all the information right there.
The video, Dave Shepard's confession, was a revelation, I thought. It really tied together a lot of the facts we had heard in testimony. And so there was little doubt in my mind at that point of guilty for me.
For that to be in such stark contrast of what his in-court testimony was, really was very suspicious and raised a lot of red flags for me. In regards to that initial video, our jury was told that we could not use the content of Dave Shepard's testimony for purposes of convicting Dr. Dixon. We were supposed to use that video testimony to determine if we could believe the in-court testimony, and that was it. And it became clear in the deliberation room that there was still reference by some of the jurors back to that original confession, that video content. And so I think that was one of the problems that I had with it.
I was definitely surprised that there were a couple that felt that Dixon was not guilty. I felt, how do they have any doubt when the evidence was all there in my eyes?
During our deliberations, we came to an impasse. I think the Dave Shepard change of testimony seemed to have a bearing on their decision. Even though it didn't have an impact on me personally, it did on them.
I just feel like that we had so many people that walked in from the time we were supposed to make our decision, and there was no discussion. They said he was guilty, and they weren't going to talk about it. And I think me and Kristen were like, well, but, we really need to talk this out a little bit.
As the foreman, it became apparent that these two jurors were not really going to change their mind. Finally, we wrote a note to the judge and said we believe that we are not really going to get a majority, which we needed.
For it to be a mistrial, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, especially those of us who had our stand and how we believed, and for all that, it seemed like for nothing.
I wasn't going to budge. I'm not going to put somebody in jail for the rest of their life if I'm not absolutely positive
100% certain that the evidence
he did it.
showed
And it
exactly.
wasn't there. The evidence wasn't there showing that. So
I felt the same way.
I know one thing, I don't want to do it again.
No.
I don't ever want to be on a trial like this again. I don't want anybody's life in my hand.